Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Monotui, coach of the Tampa Bay Luxrays, and today I'm bringing you guys our GBA Season 7 Week 10 match versus DuncanKneeDeep, coach of the Free State Torracats. If you've not done so already, please check out his YouTube link in the description below. As always, as I said in the team builder, this match is going to be very important for reaching playoffs. Duncan is right on our tail, so is Lars, so we have to try and win in order to make sure that not only Duncan cannot catch us, but also so that Lars has a much more difficult time in order to catch us, because realistically, if I lose the rest of my games and Lars wins the rest of his games, which are possible, there's a good chance he'll be able to make the playoffs. So I'm going to have to do my best in order to win this game, but in order to do that, we are just going to have to beat his team. So without further ado, let's get into the team that he decided to bring this week. He decided to bring his Weavile, Araquanid, Metagross, Venusaur, Landorus Incarnate, and the Torkoal. So he did bring the Sun offense that I was a little bit afraid of. The only mon that I was kind of surprised to see is the Araquanid, although it does definitely make sense versus my team. It takes hits from the Greninja and fires back very powerful attacks. It does the same thing to Florges. It can beat the Rhydon, assuming that it is faster than me, although it probably shouldn't be unless he's running a lot of speed. It also could be like the slow Toxic set to Toxic my Mantine, as well as to possibly Toxic my two Steel types, which is going to be very good for him. But for a quick breakdown of our team, even though I do have an entire team builder dedicated to it, we have our physically defensive Mantine, our speedy Rock Polish Rhydon, our Life Orb 3 attack Stealth Rocking Bisharp, our Wish Protect physically defensive Florges, our specially defensive Cold Berry Jirachi, and our 4 attacks Expert Belt Greninja. So without further ado, let us just get into this game. I am actually going to lead with my Mantine just because it beat a good majority of his offense if he decided to lead with that. Like it beat Landorus if he wanted to lead off with that. I can switch out versus the Metagross, they can deal with the Araquanid. He's actually going to end up leading with the Weavile, however, and I am still very much okay with this, because unless he's running something along the lines of Natural Gift Electric, I will be able to take whatever hit he wants to go for, fire off a Scald, and possibly scout to see what type of item he is. As you're going to see here, he is going to go right for the knockoff, and that is going to do quite a bit of damage to me. However, he is not going to be Life Orb, and based on the damage, he is not Choice Banded either, which is very good information to have. We're going to go for the Scald there, do a little bit of damage to him, not going to get the burn, that's totally fine. He's going to go for the Icicle Crash here, attempting either to flinch me or to just put me in range of another Icicle Crash, probably the second one, and as you're going to see there, he is not going to be able to flinch me. We are going to Roost up. However, if I stay in versus this Weavile, it's pretty much guaranteed that I'm going to get flinched eventually, so instead of playing the Roost and try not to get flinched game, I'm just going to switch out into my Florges, which can take this hit very well. However, because he hasn't revealed an item here, I'm thinking that he actually might be a Z Crystal, and I'm thinking that that Z Crystal might be something along the lines of Z Poison Jab, so that he can get a very nice kill off one of my Florges. Even if I were to Protect with my Florges, maybe to try and get a Wish back up, it would make sense because he'd hit me through the Protect and hit me very hard through the Protect. So what I'm actually going to do here is pull a double out into my Jirachi, expecting the Poison Jab, as he is actually going to go out into his Torkoal, trying to take the Moonblast. So that leads me to believe he doesn't really have a way to hit Florges with his Weavile unless he didn't think he could kill regular Poison Jab, or maybe he's not Z Poison Jab, or maybe he predicted my switch. Either way, I go out into my Jirachi here, and I'm going to stay in and go for Toxic on this thing because I'm really expecting him to go for a Stealth Rock at this point. I have a Mantine that easily switches right into this, and he actually does not happily switch into Mantine, so I'm expecting him to go for Rocks here. He actually ends up pulling out the Yawn, which is very good prep on his part because that would have caught my Mantine on the switch in, which would have been pretty annoying considering I don't have great Lava Plume switch-ins. Like, nothing on my team really wants to be burnt, and Greninja doesn't really want to switch into a Lava Plume on the Sun. So what I'm going to do here is U-turn out, make sure that my Jirachi does not get put to sleep, and then I am going to go out into my Mantine because I don't think he would go for a double Yawn, and I am kind of expecting him to go for his Rocks on this turn. As you can see here, he does go for his Rocks. Even if he went for Lava Plume or something like that, I would have been able to take it. So he's getting whittled by Poison. That's kind of good for me. But what I actually decided to do here is, because the Sun is up and Scald is not going to be doing too much damage, I'm actually just going to go for the Air Slash, as he actually sends his Weavile back in once again. And it is going to be able to take this hit relatively well. As you can see here, Air Slash is going to go off. It's not going to do too much damage. And at this point, another Air Slash isn't going to kill him. At least it looks like it's not going to kill him. So my best play here is to just go for a Scald, even though it's not going to kill because the Sun is up. Like I said, Air Slash wouldn't either. So I might as well try to go for the burn if it's going to be a 2-hit KO anyway. As you can see there, it's not going to do a lot of damage, but we are going to end up snagging the burn. And that is very important for me, because that means that now my Mantine 100% walls this Weavile unless he flinches me with a few more Icicle Crashes. But as you can see here, he actually does end up having the Z Crystal, and I was like, okay, Z Poison Jab still will not be able to knock me out, which is very, very nice. So, you know, I can deal with that. But he actually has Supersonic Sky Strike, which was good prep on his part in case I brought the Buzzwole, because usually Buzzwole beats pretty much any form of Weavile. That would have done a lot to Buzzwole. Thankfully, however, because he is burnt, that is not going to do a lot to me. I'm not exactly sure if it would have been able to knock me out if he wasn't burnt, but I think Icicle Crash does a little bit more. I could totally be wrong on that, though. And plus, he did have the chance to flinch me with Icicle Crash if he went for it there. As you're going to see here, he's going to go for an Icicle Crash. He's going to miss. That really sucks for him. It may not have mattered in the sense that, like, it would have gotten a lot of damage off onto me, but I got the 30% Scald Burn. There's a very likely chance he could have flinched me with that Icicle Crash and let me low. Same thing with that one. That one mattered a little bit less because I still would have been very healthy, but still, he missed 2 Icicle Crashes in a row. Pokemon is a dumb game. And yeah, his Weavile's gonna end up dying by basically doing nothing to my Mantine except getting rid of its item, which kind of sucks for him. Now he's gonna send out his Metagross here, and this kind of just screams that he's going for Thunder Punch. So I'm gonna make kind of a ballsy play, but I figured he was going for Thunder Punch, and I'm gonna go right out into my Rhydon here, as he does end up revealing that Thunder Punch, as it's going to be absorbed by my Rhydon because obviously I'm a Ground type. Electric moves don't work against it. And then here, he's actually going to click Earthquake, which leads me to believe he doesn't have Meteor Mash, as on the same turn that I am going to click Earthquake as well. He has very good prep on his Metagross. He's going to have the Shuca Berry, and that is going to weaken the Earthquake damage. As you can see here, that's actually going to do a little bit less than half, which is good information to have. But now his Shuca Berry's popped, so I will be able to knock him out with another Earthquake. And I'm thinking that because he doesn't want to lose his Metagross, he is going to switch out into the only thing that can take an Earthquake from this Rhydon, and that's going to be his Landorus. And as you're going to see here, I click Ice Punch as this thing wants to switch in, and it is just going to go straight down, and that is a very good turn for me, because now one of the biggest offensive threats to my team is gone without doing anything. And he's going to send in his Araquanid, which I outspeed and can kill with Stone Day, except I miss. So that miss definitely... pretty much deserved because of the misses of Icicle Crash earlier on. Like I said, even though it wouldn't have gotten too much damage off on my Mantine, it would have been kind of annoying if he flinched me and had me to stay relatively low. However, I will be able to go out into my Mantine, especially with Rock Slap. That could have been very useful for him. But I'm going to go out into my Mantine. I'm just going to click Air Slash. I apologize that it got choppy a little bit there. I have no idea why, but I'm going to click Air Slash on this Araquanid as he actually pulls out the Mirror Coat. The Mirror Coat, I apologize. Which isn't going to knock me out just because I didn't do too much damage to it, just because of how naturally split F he is and how weak Mantine is, but that does a lot of damage to me, and that really sucks for me, because that's just a lot of damage onto me that I don't necessarily want to have. And as you're going to see here, he is actually going to switch out and go out into his Torkoal in order to take the other Air Slash, as well as just get up the Sun, so that he can possibly start sweeping with his Venusaur. However, because he is in with the Torkoal, this is a decent opportunity to just go for the Roost, get my Mantine relatively back to a decent amount of health, just so I can switch into the Araquanid a little bit later. If I hit it with another Air Slash, it's in range of my Bisharp, which is very nice. So, I want to keep this Mantine around. He's going to go for the Yawn as my, he's going to go for the Yawn onto my Mantine just to put me to sleep. He doesn't necessarily need his Torkoal too healthy, and even then, like, a Scald is not going to kill it because it's in the sun. And he does actually want to save this so that he can have the sun up, but even with the sun up now, that's going to be a big problem for me. As you're going to see here, I'm going to go out in my Florges just so that my Mantine doesn't fall asleep. And what I can do is just wish up my Florges back to a good amount of HP, or I can pass the wish into something else. As you're going to see here, Lava Plume is going to go off, not going to do too much damage to me, and I will be able to take another one, so what I'm just going to do is throw up a wish so that I can get this thing healthy or pass it into something else like I just said. But this is the point where the threat is going to come out, and Venusaur is now getting a free switch in. It's at full health, and it is in the sun, and it is super scary. So I know that I have to pass this wish immediately into my Jirachi. If he sets up a growth, I can take an HP Fire afterwards because I'll be at full health after the wish. If he goes for HP Fire, I'll get all that HP back from the wish, which is very nice. As you can see here, I do go out into my Jirachi. I'm going to take the rocks damage, and then he is going to go for what I feared, and that is going to be the growth. However, I have a near 100% chance to live a modest Life Orb Hidden Power Fire in the sun because I am nearly maxed with F. So as you're going to see here, like I said, nearly a 100% chance. He's going to go for the Hidden Power Fire. We do live. We're going to be able to hit this thing with a Zen Headbutt, put him in range of Bisharp's Sucker Punch, and this is, no, we actually end up missing that too. So, that's really bad for me, because now he's going to kill my Jirachi, and I'm going to pause it. as soon as he does that. This is not good. This was my one switch in, the one thing that I had to kind of deal with this Venusaur, and it's gone. So that's a giant problem, and I'm kind of racking my brain here. Like, how do I beat this thing at this point? Because this is a +2 special attack, +2 speed Venusaur in my face, Life Orb, coverage to hit my whole team. I'm thinking, well, what do I do? And basically, the only thing I can do is basically make him take enough Life Orb recoil to the point where Sucker Punch from Bisharp is going to knock it out. So basically what I'm going to do is go out into my Bisharp. He can't kill me with anything other than HP Fire, so I'm going to force him to go for that and double out into my Mantine, taking the rocks damage, making him go for the Hidden Power Fire, weakening me to the point where he's not going to get too much back from Giga Drain. And hopefully I'm going to try and make something happen here, but it's going to be very difficult with this thing out in the field. It's got a decent amount of HP right now, but the Sun is at least going to fade, so when he switches out on the next turn, he will not be at +2 anymore, which is going to be very nice. He does still have his Torkoal for the Sun, so that is still a bit of an issue, but at least at this point, I can then send in my Bisharp out on the following turn, because I'm Jolly. I should be able to outspeed him because he should be modest with the Sun being up, or with him having Sun on his team. And from this range, knockoff should probably not come out, at least put him in range of Life Orb. So that is exactly what I'm going to go for as he sends out his Torkoal. I could have gone for Rocks there, which would have been very useful for the next time his Venusaur decided to switch in. However, I'm just going to go for the knockoff in case he wanted to stay in, risk me being slower, and then knocking me out with the Hidden Power Fire, because he did at +2 knock me out with the Hidden Power Fire. However, we get rid of the Torkoal, that's really nice, and now he is actually going to send out his Araquanid as opposed to his Venusaur, which I am very much okay with because he cannot knock me out with anything. I was kind of hoping he would actually go for Liquidation, get the defense drop on me, and then boost my attack by 2 stages so that I can knock out the Venusaur, but he's going to make the smarter play. He's going to go for Leech Life. It's not going to knock me out because I know he is not banded or anything like that. And because he actually went into this Araquanid, I decide I'm actually going to switch out into my Florges, because Florges, for one, doesn't beat anything that's on his team already. He has this thing, he has Metagross, and he has the Venusaur. So Florges is useless anyway. I'm just going to go out into it to try and stall out some of the Sun turns. And on this turn, I'm thinking he may want to go out into Venusaur just to predict the Protect, because that is definitely something that I could do. If I go for Wish, whatever I send in afterwards is going to get back to full health. I could also go for Protect in order to stall out the Sun. He may predict that and go on to Venusaur. So I go for Moonblast just because Moonblast would have put him in range of Sucker Punch. However, he is going to stay in, and he is going to live on a sliver of health with his Araquanid. So those Leech Lives really coming into play because they were able to let him survive. However, what I can do is go out into my Bisharp once again. The Sun is not going to end, but basically I have to knock this thing out, and then I have to go for the Sucker Punch on Venusaur and pray that it is enough to knock it out, or at least put it in range of Life Orb. As you're going to see here, I'm going to take some Life Orb damage. And keep in mind the Life Orb damage, because that's going to become very important. He's going to send out his Venusaur, and it doesn't look like Sucker Punch is going to knock it out. I'm going to go for that Sucker Punch, and as you're going to see here, it does a lot of damage, and it puts it very, very low. And he is going to go for the Giga Drain, and the only way I win this game is if Giga Drain does not give him enough HP to the point where he's able to survive Life Orb. I don't have Water Shuriken on Greninja, so if he lives this Life Orb recoil, I lose the game. But as you're going to see here, we are able to get enough damage off onto this Venusaur to the point where he is going to go down to Life Orb, which means that I can send in my Greninja, and the last Pokemon on his team is going to be his Metagross. He is not Colbur Berry, he is not Scarf, we saw the Shuka Berry earlier, so this Extra Belt Dark Pulse is guaranteed going to knock him out, and we are going to pull away with this game a very, very narrow 1-0 victory. And that is going to be the game. You defeated Duncan, awesome, and that is really, really good for us in terms of making the playoffs. So as soon as Duncan's face pops up here, which it does, we are going to pause it and talk about this game a little bit. So like I said earlier, I'm not exactly sure how much the early game hacks influenced this game. Definitely the Skull Burn. The Skull Burn was huge because that meant that my even if he did flinch my Mantine, I was perfectly fine. Granted, that is a 30% chance, but obviously you can argue that with the 2 Icicle Crashes that he missed in a row, that there is a 30% chance to flinch me, and that would have left my Mantine at a relatively low amount of HP, which could have been useful for him later on. Especially with Rocks up, that could have been very big for him. But obviously, the later on, the Stone Edge miss wasn't too huge. It was more annoying than anything else, because I was like, he sent in Araquanid, and I was going to be like, yeah, I can kill this thing, and I'm going to be fast, and I'm going to look cool, and then I missed, and then it just ended up dying, which kind of sucked. And then later on, we had the Zen Headbutt miss from Jirachi, and that was big. Like I said, Zen Headbutt put the Venusaur in guaranteed range of Sucker Punch for my Bisharp, and that would have eliminated a lot of troubles later on. Like, I would have knocked out the Venusaur with Sucker Punch at that point, I would have been able to kill the Torkoal with knockoff at that point, I would have been able to kill the Metagross with knockoff at that point. Everyone's playing Duck Game, that's wonderful, glad that's going to be showing up in the video. Great game, by the way. Shameless. Oh, look, he's doing it too. I didn't even know Kyle, when did you get Duck Game? Holy shit. Alright, I have to wrap this video up because I'm about to play that shit with them. Anyway, the Zen Headbutt miss on Venusaur was big. If I had hit that, it would have been in range of Sucker Punch, and then I think this game would have ended in either a 2-0 or a 3-0. Regardless, Duncan played this game well. His prep was solid. The Shukaberry and Metagross was big. That helped him out quite a bit. He saw how big of a problem Sun offense was to my team. He decided to bring it very well on his part. Zia Harrylace was really cool on Weavile. That could have definitely put in a lot of work versus my Buzzwole if I decided to bring it. Unfortunately for him, I did not. He had a few too many good ways to deal with it, but regardless, that's the game. You guys can leave your thoughts down in the description below. Did the earlier hacks have more of an influence than I'm leading on? Was the hacks that he got versus me only important because I hacked him earlier? Let me know your thoughts down below. Regardless, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next game.